Well, at the age of 13, I spent 1 month with each of my grandmothers in Missouri. My paternal grandmother lived in St. Louis, and my maternal grandmother lived in Jefferson City, but she was from Salisbury. And my interest in calligraphy developed because my maternal grandmother only had 3 channels on her TV, and one summer they weren't working. So my mom and I went downtown. She bought me a speedball calligraphy pen holder and nib, and a speedball calligraphy book. I didn't learn about the quilts at that time. It didn't happen until years later on the famous Hennessy night. We drove to Salisbury, and my husband went to sleep after the first half an hour. And then my great auntie and my auntie pulled out the family Bible and a bottle of Hennessy, and the stories that were told that evening are, to a certain extent, told in these quilts. There were stories to be told with each piece of fabric, and some they could recall and relate to me, and some of them they couldn't. This is our big North Star. This was from that famous Hennessy evening we were talking about earlier. I can remember my aunties and my great aunties and my mom saying, "Oh yeah, that was Auntie so-and-so's dress that she used to wear when she cooked, and that was Uncle so-and-so's shorts, you know, he used to wear those when he went fishing." And all of these represented parts of my past. And when I first inherited this quilt, I would keep it wrapped up in a special bag. And it was actually an Irish friend of mine said, "These are your ancestors. Don't you want to have them with you when you sleep? Don't you want them to protect you when you go to sleep?" And I had never thought of it in that way, and I thought, well, gosh, and I do. For the backing, they would use flour sacks. It looks like a baseball player. Salisbury, Salisbury. Salisbury, Missouri. It says Fulton bags. This is an old flour sack, and that's what they traditionally used as the backing. And the patchwork craftsmanship is amazing. But when you flip it over and you see the quilt craftsmanship, where behind each square had these beautiful geometric shapes that have been hand sewn to attach the top from the bottom. It's unbelievable. As an artist, as a mathematician, I fail to understand how they did it. It's perfect. As a calligrapher, I was inspired by the wedding ring pattern. I like the geometrics. Calligraphy is a series of curves and lines, and I felt that the circles had the most movement. I wanted something that flowed and that had that kind of continuity. This is the first North Star sketch that I did using one of the longer texts of one of the Obama speeches, with the log cabin symbol in the middle. The log cabin symbol or pattern is one that was used in Salisbury during the Underground Railroad. When a quilt had a blue square in the center of this pattern, it meant that the house that hung it out in front of it, that it was a safe house, and that slaves could go there to seek refuge. If there was a red square in the center, it meant that the house was not safe. So I like this idea, using that and making that the focal point with clippings from articles about Obama. This is my final North Star, and here I took the same 8-pointed star that you can see on my North Star quilt. In each of the 5 squares in between the actual star, I've written one word of a key phrase from the Obama campaign: change we can believe in. So these were pulled out of the trunk of the famous Hennessy night. And my auntie and great auntie and my mom said, "Well, they're yours, and you have to create a patchwork quilt with them." And these were probably kept and not added into a quilt simply because, as we've seen with the other quilts, there's a continuity as far as the color scheme goes. And these don't really have a whole lot in common, so tying them together in a quilt would have been rather difficult. So I have a tough job ahead. I'd like to take one of the squares, though, this one, I think, and try to incorporate it into a calligraphy piece, using it as the center, and doing a 4-pointed star instead of an 8-pointed star. So I don't know if I can do that, but I'm going to try. One day, I'll do it.